Yo, coming to you live from World Championship in San Jose. Welcome to the Living Legends podcast.
Oh, hello there. This is Professor Teklo Vossen coming in from Teklo Industries. And you want to know where the best place to go is for the Bright Lights pre-release in Pennsylvania? That's right. The Banished Zone on September the 30th at 6 p.m. and the Portal Comics and Gaming on October the 1st at 12 p.m. That's right. A double header. $30 entry per event. And if you attend both events, you get an entry to win a box of Bright Lights at each store. The box will be given out on release day the following week. So just go and support your local game stores in Pennsylvania and the Banished Zone, of course, our sponsors here at the Living Legends podcast, and just have a whale of a time in the city of bright lights. Teklo Vossen, out.
Then I suppose we can just start. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Living Legends podcast. I am your host for today. My name is Bill. I'm from the Spike Feeders. I know a lot of people just hear me say I'm Bill from the Spike Feeders. That's not my full name. It's
what, really?
Slightly different. Yeah, I know. It's not. It's like Jim from Fab TCG Cards.
Yeah, right.
But that is his full name, though. That's the thing.
That is
Jim
his actual
from Fab
full
TCG
name.
Cards. Yeah.
That's a fact. And of course, joining me this week, we have Az from Go Again Gaming.
That's right, yeah. That's the name my mother gave me, Az from Go Again Gaming.
Yeah, it's on his birth certificate and everything.
Makes sense.
Mr. from Go Again Gaming? Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, what's that then? Yeah, so we have Az, thank you for joining us, as well as Kel from Red Zone Rogue. I guess Kel, also known as Red Zone Rogue. Is
I suppose. Yourself. Yeah, I suppose. Hello. How's it going, everyone? We got some Flesh and Blood to talk about this week, like always. But we have some new cards to talk about, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, we do. I guess first and foremost, the most important thing that we have to really talk about today is that Canadian Nats just sort of wrapped up a couple days ago now. And there are a couple interesting things that have sort of popped up from that. I think first and foremost is the one that Az is the most excited about. There was an Azalea in the top 8.
That's right.
Which is wild.
Yeah, that's right. And someone tagged me on Twitter for it was hashtag Clamorant fan at cramfan number 1. Someone tell Go Again Gaming Az we have a lone Azalea in top 8. So it wasn't just an Azalea in top 8. It was the only one there at the event.
Yeah.
That made it into top 8.
100% conversion rate. Azalea overpowered, confirmed.
Absolutely. And it's the same with I think it was there an Arachne? Or there wasn't the only.
There was only one Arachne, and I believe they commented on either one of my videos or my posts, but they said they ended up bubbling out, which is unfortunate. But kudos to them. If you're the Arachne player and you're listening to this podcast, hey, great job. Like, just repping the spider there. And there were 4 Uzuris as well. Those are the players that I was really keeping an eye on. The 4 Uzuris, the Arachne, and the Azalea.
Yeah, exactly. All the pits, all the outsiders, of course, and obviously as assassin players are going to have some new stuff to sort of test with and play with, which we'll get into in a bit. Which is one of your spoiler cards. But yeah, thanks for tagging me on the Twitter, thinking of me and Azalea, of course, and that was Felipe. And I did watch this game, and it just happened to be that Sean had on the turns where Azalea needed to get through the red and the ledgers and stuff. Sean just had a double sink turn where he sank from his arsenal and his hand, even though it was dominated to stop a red and the ledger. And then there was also a double Oasis turn to stop again another red in the ledger. So he just had the right things at the right time. That was the only real sort of time that Felipe could have actually got back into it, and ultimately lost that one. But yeah, fair play. Thanks for tagging me. And Calendar National Championship, good stuff. Good to see it.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate to see that Azalea didn't end up making it all the way, but. As you know, as tough as it is sometimes, Sean, his opponent, did end up taking the entire tournament home. So, you beat the strongest, or you were beaten by the strongest person there. So it's, I would take that personally. I still think that's a really, really great showing. And speaking of, there were actually a few people locally in Winnipeg that ended up making their way out. The two that I want to really shout out, if you see, if anybody looks at the breakdown of the meta, the field for Nats, there was exactly one Vincent, and that was my buddy Jay. He unfortunately did not do quite as well as he was anticipating. I think his overall score was like 3 and 4 or something. I don't want to put him on blast too much, but he said that he had a great time. He played against 7 different heroes throughout the entire day, or throughout all of his matches. So I think that's really cool too. Yeah. But yeah, shout out to Jay. Thanks for repping Vincent. And then the other thing that I wanted to put a spotlight on is, of the people from the Winnipeg contingent that showed up, there is one person, one of us, actually made it into top 32, and that was a local player, very, very strong, and a good friend of mine, Seth Penner.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Made his way to an 18th place finish, which is incredible. Like, that's really, really good.
Do you know what what hero they were playing?
They play, yeah.
I don't recall, actually. I'll see if I can find information in the Nats chat.
We'll just assume it's Lexi until we know.
I think it probably was Lexi. I think that's sort of what people have been playing recently, at least locally. Actually, here, I have the breakdown for all the people that showed up to Nats. Seth was on Dromai.
Okay, that also makes sense.
He was
Dromai's also very
he was
good.
one of the 15 Dromai players.
Yeah,
cool.
Dromai's so good that I've seen people like. This is not the topic of the episode today, but I've seen people being like, ban Tumultai, and I'm just like, sure.
I saw that too. I saw somebody mention that they figure that the next steps forward are to ban Tumultai. And the one that I saw, the sort of like argument for it, kind of makes sense. They were like, Tumultai leads to a situation where both players end up not having a great time. I almost,
think that's what Yuki said, wasn't it? I think that's
I think it was Yuki that was sort of saying that.
Yeah.
And like, I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, I don't know that Tumultai is the one that makes the most impact. I could be wrong personally. I don't play Dromai, but I do also see it. Something else that we're going to be talking about is recent spoilers that we're seeing for Bright Lights.
Yes.
And there is a card that we will discuss that might make it a little bit easier for Tumultai to come out. So
yes,
maybe it's sort of a like prepping for the future, that sort of thing, like planning forward. And I could definitely see it then if it becomes a really easy thing to drop Tumultai, because obviously it's supposed to be really hard to get because it's a 5 cost in a deck that cares mostly about
reds.
So if it becomes an easier thing to do instead of just being Tumultai waiting room, then it might start to tend towards that, but I'm not sure.
I pretty much come to this conclusion every single time we talk about bans, and I'm very much against bans for the most part. So like Tumultai just seems, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, is Dromai like that good that she requires a ban? Hey, maybe with the new card possibly, but currently she's just good, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know if Lexi needs a ban right now. She's like on her way out of LL anyway, so it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, and something I will say just in general when talking about this game is I think this game, sort of more so than others, it is actually pretty difficult to consider how balance changes are going to affect the game. It feels like it is hard to actually actively pin down what makes decks tick in a way where you can make a change that doesn't just completely gut a hero.
I think that is a very interesting discussion because I am not sure how much so like if we use the Bullseye Bracers ban for Azalea, not for Lexi, for Azalea, I'm not sure how much Bullseye Bracers actually negatively infected Azalea versus how much people hated the ban. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not sure if like the deck is that much worse that it becomes unplayable, or if people just hated the ban so much that they just stopped playing Azalea to begin with. Like, because we did see one in the top 8, right? at Canadian Nat. So obviously Azalea still can do stuff. Like she's not unplayable, but if it's just so much of a feel bad that people are just like, I'm done. You know, it's that meme of like, I'm done playing with you, right? They're holding they're holding the Lexi and they're dropping the Azalea thing, you know?
Yeah. And like to their credit, it did feel pretty bad at the time.
Yeah,
like,
well,
I know
I think it still does feel bad for Azalea, to be honest.
Like we found out about it live, and I think both of you were pretty gutted at the initial reaction of it. Was pretty.
Oh, we did, didn't we? Yeah, we did.
It was a surprising ban. I would not be surprised, by the way, if after Lexi hits Living Legend, if they revisit it and decide to bring Bullseye back for Azalea.
I think they probably could.
They even
I think
said
right
it in
now
the
Lexi is
post.
just a very I think Lexi right now is just a very visual example of Bullseye bracers, and I think that might be the rough part.
Yeah.
She's so omnipresent right now. Like she took up, I think it was 29. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Out of 111 players at Nats, she was 29 of the decks.
Yeah.
So that's a
wanna-
lot. You just see it a lot.
I want to give a huge shout out. I know you can't really compare one nationals to another nationals. They're different size events, different people, yada, yada, yada. I don't care about that for this point. I just want to give a huge shout out to like the person. I think 2 Uzuris won nationals. And I oh no, I think it was maybe like Greece and like Norway or something. It was like 2 countries not in the Americas. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It was like two of like the more European countries. I don't remember exactly what it was. So shout out to the 2 Uzuri players. And there was also like 2 Boltons, right? I think 2 Boltons also won.
So yeah, Boltons were
Kano?
one of them was Netherlands for the Bolton, but I can't remember where the other one was.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, that's great to see as well. And again, we spoke about it, I think, last week. It's just like if Bolton is actually winning a nationals, does that make him, sort of propel him into the optics more, and people actually start to think, oh, maybe Bolton can actually win, or is
Maybe.
it? I think you said last time it needs to be a bigger thing than nationals, perhaps, in order to sort of propel him to.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's that plus like so if Bolton won like U.S. nationals, I think it would have been a huge deal because U.S. nationals is pretty competitive. It's a very large event, and there's a lot of like really high level players. And same could be said for a lot of these other places too. I'm not going to disparage any of the other places like Netherlands or anywhere else, France or the UK or whatever. But what I am saying is that like I think people pay more attention to the bigger events, just overall. But I mean, I don't want to segue too much into this yet because we still have more to talk about. But I mean, Bolton did just get a pretty sweet card in.
That's right.
In Bright Lights, like
I think one of your like this one. Yeah, we'll obviously go into it a little bit later, but I think one of your community members called it, didn't they, Cal?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. They called it in the Discord. Awesome. It was this exact card, except their version is obviously better because their version you don't destroy it. It's just a repeatable effect.
Yeah.
And this one you destroy. We'll talk about it when the time comes. But yeah, they called it like 2 or 3 days before it happened, and I was like, "Holy hell, dude!" Like,
that's great.
Good call. And they talked in the Discord, and I was like, "I think the effect is good." Like, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't think it's too overpowered." And I'm like, "I'm not sure if it's too overpowered either. Maybe it is. Like, maybe we just don't. I mean, I don't really play a lot of Bolton. Maybe having it repeatable is too overpowered. But anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit later."
Yeah. I have also, again, for spoilers, peek behind the curtain, it is currently 3:52 p.m. Central. And DM Armada's spoiler card is coming out in about 8 minutes. So we're probably going to be commenting on that too. So leading up into that, let's just start talking about some of the spoilers that we've seen, because some of them are really cool. I think actually all of them are very cool, at the very least interesting. One of them is really like polarizing, but I think even at base, the design of it makes sense, and I'll talk about that once it actually comes up. But in like vague chronological order, we've just pulled up Fabrary here for the spoiler page. Also, shout out to Fabrary; they always like pull these spoilers together and make it just really easy to look at things that have sort of they update pretty frequently as things come out.
Best database for Fab, hands down, I reckon.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that.
I think we're all huge fans of Fabrary here for sure.
Yeah,
definitely. There were actually 3 that were all sort of spoiled. I think together, they're all promos as well for Bright Lights.
I
Yeah, they're all Mechanologist attack actions, and you know what? We can each talk about one if we want.
Yeah.
Oh, the
'cause I think
protocols.
that'd be-
Yeah,
the protocols.
It's an interesting. I think they're a cycle in that
they basically are.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. They're a cycle that they have mechanically different effects, but they all belong to the same kind of thing. So it's kind of like having a blue, yellow, red cycle, but with different effects. They've kind of done this before, but I think it's a really cool design thing.
For example, the first one here, at least in series, is Magnetic Protocol. And so all of these are 3-cost attacks that block for 3. Magnetic is blue, so it pitches for 3 and attacks for 5. And all of them have sort of like an ability word, Evo upgrade. And so the defending hero must defend this with X equipment they control with -1 counters if able, where X is the number of Evos you have equipped. So all 3 of these have something to do with the amount of Evos that you have, which, of course, for those of you who are just tuning in now, Evos are a type of equipment that you play in your deck that level up your base equipment. There's like 1 piece of base equipment for each slot. And you have these Evos that you can play on top of them to basically like change your equipment into something else, which I think is really cool. It's very Iron Man-esque.
Build drone,
and obviously this is a payoff. Yeah. This is a payoff for playing stuff like that, because even at 2, making your opponent block with 2 things that they've blocked with already, even if they have battle worn, especially if they have temper, this can be huge. This can be like blow up 2 pieces of equipment that your opponent controls, which can be very swingy. I like it a lot. I think the general consensus is that the blue one of these is the best, so we're kind of starting off strong, but I do think that all 3 of them are actually quite interesting at the very least.
The fact it's just a blue block 3 that can attack for 5 and then force out the temper and force out equipment blocks. I think it's just I think it probably is the best one.
Because it specifically targets. Well, it doesn't target, but it singles out equipment that already have -1 counters on it, so they can't be put into a position where it's like, oh, I'll block with my Storm Striders because they don't have a block value, or like I'll block with my Snapdragon Scalers because they have a block value of 0 and they won't break because they don't have Blade Break or whatever. So it'll block. It'll make them block with stuff that likely will die if it gets pulled by the Magnetic Protocol, which I think is really cool. But if you have them up, do you want to talk about Pulse Wave Protocol really quick?
Yeah, so exactly the same thing with regards to the cost, but this is the yellow one. So yellow cost 3, blocks for 3, attacks for 6. So they actually go up in 1 power increments. And it's exactly the same thing. So Evo upgrade, when this attacks, they reveal X cards from their hand. So similar to the Pulse Wave Harpoon card. Where X is number of Evos you have equipped, then choose an attack action card with a defense less than potentially the highest being 4, then add it to this chain link as a defending card. So again, just one of those things that allows you to rip cards out of your opponent's hand and force them to block with it. And this obviously scales with how many Evos you have, which is probably what you want to be doing anyway. So is this... It's not. I don't think it's as strong as the Pulse Wave, the other one. Because what's that cost? The other one's it 1?
The other one costs 1, attacks for 4, and has boost itself. So, Pulse Wave is going to be a hard card to beat. But I think that if you're playing in a deck where Evos sort of matter, this is like a decent payoff. It would be obviously better if it was a blue. There are a lot of cards that would be better if they were blue, but I don't.
Every card.
I have a hard time. Exactly. I have a hard time thinking that this card is bad. At the very least, it's okay, which I think is fine.
And it's a 6, which will matter because Dromai is still going to be a thing going forward. Maybe Prism as well, perhaps. So that obviously helps as well, but hard to evaluate with the small pool of cards that we have, but cool nonetheless. And then we have the Demolition one. So Kel, do you want to read that one out, mate?
Yeah, this is Demolition Protocol. This has the best stats, being the red version of it. 3 cost attacks for 7. So 3 for 7, block 3 is actually just really, really good stats. We saw in Nationals people running 3 for 7s that literally didn't do anything. Like the vanilla one from, the bulk common from
on the Raging Onslaught.
Yeah, that one.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this one actually has an effect. So it has the Evo upgrade. When this attacks a hero, remove all steam counters from up to X equipment, items, and or weapons they control, where X is the number of Evos you have equipped. So this is specifically like an anti-mechanologist card, right? You suck all of their steam counters off based on the number of Evos you have. So obviously the best statted one is also has the weakest effect, but it just has good stats. Like 3 for 7 is just good stats these days for Flesh and Blood. So, it had
3 for 7 means like the reason that people were playing Raging Onslaught anyway is because there's I forget what the name of the aura is for Prism, but the one that makes it so that defending cards have -1 attack.
Oh yeah.
7 is specifically a really good breakpoint because then it still pops even if they have that out. So with Prism potentially getting a few more things, and I assume it's Illusionist is probably gonna get one thing in the expansion slot in this set. That's based on nothing. I'm just making an assumption. But
yeah, it also just leaks damage very well. But
yeah,
I think we should take a small little break. And we'll watch DM Armada's spoiler. So there's going to be a cut here, and then we will have seen the spoilers when we come back. Yeah.
Yo, Brian Gottlieb just tipped him $2.
Whoa!
Really? I didn't get any tips. What the hell?
What the fuck? All right. Well, we are back from looking at DM Armada's spoiler, and honestly, very interesting. Kel, do you have it up on screen?
Yeah, intoxicating shot.
Okay.
It is very
so intoxicating shot is going to be the next spoiler that we talk about. We kind of talked about this a little bit already in the break, but yes, for the audio listeners, intoxicating shot is a 0 cost blue pitch 4 attack 3 block arrow. Which already that stat line is kind of crazy. It is balanced out somewhat by its effect, but it is a Riptide specialization. And its only effect is when this hits a hero, they create a courage and a quicken token. So technically only upside for hitting your opponent. But the thing that is really cool, and what DM Armada pointed out in his video, is the fact that courage gives an attack +1 and quicken gives an attack go again. It turns on like most of the ranger traps, at least the new ones.
I think all of them.
There are a couple. I actually got corrected as I was posting it to various discords, but there are, I think, 1 or 2 that get triggered off of attack reactions. Like if your opponent has activated a reaction or something this turn.
Ones that ones that no one plays. Okay,
yeah, exactly. So it turns on like the good ones. Like it turns on Buzzsaw, it turns on Collapsing Trap, I think.
Here's a list. Here's a list of the traps that it turns on. Boulder Trap, when this defends an attack with power greater than its base, you get a -1 counter on equipment. Buzzsaw, whenever it attacks the power greater than its base. Collapsing Trap, when this defends an attack with go again.
Yep.
Tar Pit, Frailty, Inertia. That's it. Yeah. Those are the ones that it affects. Quite a few of them.
Most of the times, those are the ones that are being played anyway. So
exactly,
So in conjunction with that, pretty good. Like again, the stat line is the first thing that I said, and that you guys can attest to this. When he was sort of revealing the card piece by piece, I was like, wait a second, 0 cost 4/3 blue. Like that stat line is just crazy. Like it's really, really good. And then Kel mentioned that Riptide kind of needs it. Fair.
Riptide more than kind of needs it. Shout out to all the Riptide stands out there who
shout out to David Mink.
To see less, Riptide sees almost less play than Arachne, which is saying a lot. So yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I think this card is really, really cool. I think it's a great spoiler for DM Armada. And I think that again, it just being like a 0 cost arrow, pretty good in the late game, and pretty good early as well to either be an effective block or to give you a bunch of resource.
I think it needs to be blue just for like there's power reasons, but also like on the turns where it is actively terrible. Like if you have no traps to get the use out of this, it is actually awful, right? Because you just pump up your opponent in like the worst ways, and so you need to be able to pitch it to do other stuff. And if it was red, it would be like it would be so bad if it was red. Like
Yeah, it would need to be like probably a 7-cost attack or like a 6-cost 0 for it to be like okay at red. Which obviously they're just not going to do. That's just not something that I think is going to happen. But so yeah, this being a 0 cost blue 4, I think is like perfect for what this needs to be. So really cool. Shout out to DM Ramada. Great reveal video as well.
Yeah. And it synergizes with what he has already. Like all of his other specializations are blues as well. So you want to see them like later on to have the most impact, which I think is also cool. It's just like blue matters in Riptide.
Well, and like if you're pitching the majestic traps as well as this, like if you're able to get to the late game, your pitch stack is going to be nuts. Like it's going to be like you intoxicating shot, and then you have like all 3 of the majestic traps, and you're like, yeah, go for it, buddy.
Brilliant. Yeah. So that's cool.
Very cool.
Want to point out as well that obviously this is technically the only specialization spoiled so far. So we still got quite a few of the early spoilers to get through. So we might see some other specializations in there. I think 3 floating are yet to do one, aren't they?
They are doing a hero.
Oh, they're doing a hero.
Yeah. So it is public knowledge that the heroes are being revealed by 3 floating and Max Ferocity, who we'll talk about more.
Of course.
A little bit later.
We'll mention Max Ferocity in a bit.
But yeah, specializations is cool because we had a lot of reservations as to how they can sort of incorporate expansion slots, and this gives me hope for the future where there might be a set which has a random Azalea specialization in, or a random hero that people care about that's not necessarily in the actual set that it's designed for, right? So this is what I like to see personally as someone that gravitates towards heroes, is random specializations in sets that aren't including that hero. So I like the trajectory of this already. Glad to see that today.
Yeah, I think it's really cool just what we're seeing, like you're saying, like how the expansion slot's kind of going to be utilized moving forward. We're getting our first sort of tastes of it, and we're not even done yet. Like there's still I think we're like maybe a third of the way there.
We
do this like almost exactly a third of the way there. A little bit more.
6. So we have 7 revealed so far that are going to be. Well, wait, hold on. Actually, 1, 2, 3.
Oh yeah, because Tunic is part of it.
8.
Yeah, so we're like almost half.
We have 8 that have been revealed so far, including Tunic.
Sweet.
3 of which are legendaries. One of which was my preview card. I can say, so as we're talking about the expansion slot, I can say, so I asked LSS, and I said this in my reveal video. I was like, hey, so since this is an expansion slot card and it's a legendary, what type of card treatments can we expect for this card? Like, is it going to be rainbow foil, cold foil? What is going to be? And they told me that it will be it'll be in rainbow foil and cold foil. So that means that the expansion slot isn't just going to be kind of like the list from Magic, where it's just like, here's the one version and that's it. It seems like you're going to be able to get variants in the expansion slot.
It's kind of like a regular slot.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm unsure if you're going to be able to get rainbow foil of the other cards. Probably is what my guess is. So yeah, I think it's interesting.
Yeah,
I'm still like, I think it's going to be really expensive. We'll see how it shakes out. But like some of these cards, like expansion slot, keep in mind it's only 1 in 16 packs, so that's less than 2 per box on average. And if you're pulling like, you pull, we'll talk about some of the other cards, but you get like an Already Dead in one box, and then you get your Smashing Performance in another box, and then you get your Riptide card in another box, and all you need are 3 of the Tome of Imperial Flames. Then you're going to be like, well, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, but the fact that they're also quite hero specific means that some people might not even care about those cards anyway, so they might still be essentially available. Like if you're cracking these packs and there's a Dromai card in there, you don't really care about it. They might just go straight into the marketplace, for instance. But it's hard to really tell. Hard to really tell about that, really.
It depends on how competitive viable they are, right? If every competitive player needs 3 Tome of Imperial Flame, if you're playing Dromai, then they're going to be expensive. Is what I'm saying.
But that's the same with anything, right? It's the same with any card, I guess.
It depends on how much rarer they are than any random Majestic.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
We have no idea.
We will see.
But yeah, anyway, so moving on, one that I will just very briefly touch on because there's a whole spoiler video that you should definitely go watch. There was also Kel's Red Zone Rogue spoiler Shriek Razors, which is an assassin equipment. While it's in your graveyard at the start of your turn, you can destroy 2 silvers if you do equip this. So it's similar to the other rebuy equipment that assassins already have access to. And it has Battle Worn 1, as well as the activated ability attack reaction, 2 resources, destroy this. Target attack action defending an assassin attack gets -1. Like I said, you should definitely go watch Red Zone Rogue's video. It's a very, very good spoiler video. Exceptional. I think this card is very interesting. A lot of people are comparing it to Shred. Notably, it is a little bit more narrow than Shred because it is just target attack action card instead of just target card defending an assassin card. But the fact that it's potentially repeatable and also always available means that it could just be an omnipresent force.
Yeah, I didn't mention it. So a couple things that I mentioned in my video. Yeah, as Bill said, this completes the cycle. So now you have a full suite of what I call the silver cycle. So you have Massacre Perdition, Redback Shroud, Black Tech Whispers, and Shriek Razors. So you have a full set of these silver pieces, so you can rock up with that. So if they ever like really push silver, it could be a situation where you bust all your equipment and then you just buy them all back on your next turn, and then have another 4 block, and it could be pretty nasty if they go into that. But things to note, this is only really good against physical heroes. So even if this card ends up being good, it won't be good against every single matchup because it's like terrible against Kano or like Icelander or something like that.
Dorinthia, even.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, Dorinthia against warriors in general. I actually think so. The big discussion that I've seen around, a lot of assassin players are like, do you run this over Flick Knives? And that's something that I was thinking as well. Like, do you run this over Flick Knives? Because Flick Knives, it's basically 2 free damage. This one, you can block first and then apply the damage, so it still gives you about 1 point or 2 points of value, even if you don't buy it back. And Flick Knives also gives you about maybe 3 points of value if you crack both of your daggers and then you block with it. What I like about Shriek Razors is that it helps you push on-hit effects through. And it makes blocks super awkward because it just sits there and has the threat of activation. So you can have situations where you can kind of like, and this is what I really like about it. I didn't mention this in the video, but I like that it plays into the sneaky nature of Assassin, where you can attack with something and then kind of bait them and then make them think that you have a nasty on-hit effect, and they overblock, and you're like, cool, I don't do anything. Like, thanks for blocking with your whole hand, buddy. So that's why I like Shriek Razors.
The thing that's kind of interesting too is effects like this sometimes get overlooked. Like just onboard tricks, like the amount of times that I've forgotten that my opponent has access to breaking scales.
Yeah.
And I just get completely blown out by it because it's like, oh dang, like they had that 1 extra damage to push this over the top to get their Mask of Momentum trigger or whatever. Like in this case, you're looking at on hits for like Leave No Witnesses and Surgical Extraction.
It makes the swap super awkward when you swap it like a shakedown and they blocked 6, and then now they need to block at least 7, right? To make sure they don't get hit by it. That's what makes it worth.
Yeah, it's the whole thing to shout out our friend Dead Summer Art, which I'm sure we'll speak about a little bit later with regards to the D&D stuff. We were speaking on a previous podcast for the Dungeons and Dragons session about Sip, which I've never heard before. The starts in play, stays in play situation. Things similar to Scowling Fleshbag and things that just sit in play and give you that threat of activation, which is what you guys just said. It screws up your entire blocking maths because you have to then account for the fact that if they then play the thing, or your high value attack card, which you've measured as 3, is now a 2. So you then have to think, right, well, okay, if I block of my helmet now, you're actually throwing these other things into the equation, even though the thing hasn't even happened yet, which is the mind games that assassins should be playing, I think, going forward. So yeah, I think it's really good for that.
Yeah, and the on-hit effects are like good enough that you really have to think about that, because it could be the difference between losing another card from your hand or not. And it's like, well, if you could have blocked with it anyway to prevent the damage, then you probably should have blocked with it rather than getting it ripped from your hand. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
I personally, as an assassin player, I think you'll probably still run flick knives a decent amount, but I really think people should consider testing Shriek Razors at least a little bit, because I think there is some merit there. Even if it's just one of the cards that you have in your sideboard that you board in against, like, you know, the heavy physical attack classes. Like, I think this is
like
nasty.
Shriek Razors versus something like Fi, who is pretty bad at blocking anyway. Like, maybe not so bad.
Yeah, like Ranger, Azalea, like any physical, honestly.
Yeah.
Don't bring Azalea into this, please.
But speaking of impactful on hits that assassins have access to, we actually have the next card, which is quite interesting as well. Yeah, so for any of you who know the reference or speak Japanese, this card is called Already Dead. It's an assassin attack action. It comes in red. It attacks for 6, costs 2, and blocks for 3. So the 2 for 6 that blocks 3 is like a pretty standard assassin sort of breakpoint for red cards that we've seen recently. But this is another contract card, which I think is interesting. We're kind of going back to that. This one is, you are contracted to banish opponents' non-action cards, which I think is that wording feels strange.
It's because it can
reactions
banish
and instants.
Well, you can't block with instants, at least not yet. All the instants have 0 block. Reactions and equipment. You can banish equipment with this.
Yeah. So it's what that's looking for. And this card does do that, because the effect is when this hits a hero, you banish the top card of their deck and a defending card.
Ooh, it's so nice.
So very, very interesting. The only other time we've seen something like this is spinning roundhouse. No, whirlwind kick.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a majestic ninja attack action combo card that works off of, I believe it's spinning roundhouse, that banishes a random card from a random defending card from the chain.
Yeah.
Which is already, like, people have talked about, like, that effect is just really good for the potential that it has to potentially banish an equipment. This one, you are allowed to choose the defending card. And I believe because cards are still defending even if the chain closes, because it would be the same with Cyclone Roundhouse. That's the name of the card. I believe you could pick a defending card from a previous chain link. And as long as it is a defending card, I think you can still do it.
As long as the chain isn't broken, I think.
Yeah, I'm fully willing to be wrong about that. I'm just kind of going off the dome, but I'm pretty sure they still count as defending cards. But yeah, anyway, so really interesting card, really powerful effect potentially. Again, being able to just like snipe your opponent's equipment. If you like,
go ahead.
If you put this in as Azuri, and your opponent's just like, yeah, whatever, I'll block with my, I can't even, all the ones that I'm thinking of right now break
tech
on.
Plating.
Yeah, like tech plating or Brave Forge Bracers or a Valiant Dynamo even, like, and you just get to banish
Grasp
it.
of the Arknight.
Value.
Yeah, that's nice.
Already Dead is a Windmill Slam 3 of in every assassin deck. It is obviously better in Uzuri because every assassin card's better in Uzuri because Uzuri is just better. But you also run this in Arachne because, you know, it's a Arachne. Also, this is the very first assassin card that has 6 attack. Well, no, that's not entirely true. Uzuri has one as well, but like, because she has Shakedown.
Generic.
Yeah.
Generic assassin.
Yeah. So like, it's a pretty unique card, and it is very good. And assassins are going to be running this.
Definitely.
It's just really good. It's like so nasty if you have options. This is the kind of stuff that you really want, where you're like coming in with a stealth card with Uzuri, and you have 2 options, right? You have Already Dead, and you have another, you know, whatever one, like a surgical or whatever, and they're like, I'm gonna block with my equipment, and then you're like, cool, I'm gonna eat your equipment. Like,
yeah. And
that's
for the
sweet.
trouble, give myself a silver.
Yeah, and I can crack my shriek razors to make sure that it hits, and then buy it back because I just banished your gloves or whatever. So.
I banished your freaking Rampart of the Ram's Head.
Yeah.
That's one.
Oh, it's so nice.
Jeez, yeah. That's one thing to note on the. I'm not sure whether we mentioned it, but on the comparison between flick knives and shriek razors, is that flick knives just blows up if you block with it, whereas shriek razors you can actually just continuously block if you can buy it back. So it gives you more defense over time as well.
All of the technically a higher ceiling.
Yeah,
all of the silver equipment, the rebuy. Which I just as a side note, I still love the idea of you block with your thing and then you just have to go, like, oh, sorry, I just got to dip down to the shops and get myself some new gloves.
I do want to mention, I don't want to talk too much about the shriek razors, but it also works really well with black text because you can make it so that the attack hits, so it gives you go again from the black text thing. And anyway, I'll stop talking about the assassin cards.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, that brings us up to the next one to talk about. Some of these next ones are going to be pretty quick, and I think this is probably one of them. We have a brute card, brute attack. This is Smashing Performance, which is a yellow 3-cost 6 attack with no block value. So similar to like Smash with Big Tree or Pulping, you cannot block with this card. It is not possible. When this attacks, draw a card, then discard a random card. If a card with 6 or more attack is discarded this way, destroy a random item in the arena. So obviously, a tech card against very specific decks, you'd probably want to play this against, I mean, obviously Dash is the first thing that comes to mind, somebody that cares a lot about items. There are, however, a couple other heroes that this might actually be decent into. Like, there are certain builds of like Dorinthia that care about getting Quicksilver. No, not Quicksilver.
Or like potions and stuff?
Yeah, like potions and stuff. Kano likes potions.
Yeah.
So it's possible that you could see that in there. This is definitely like just a tech option for your field.
One for you casual-minded folks out there, one thing I'd like to note is that it just says a random item in the arena, not a random item controlled by that player. So if you're playing UPF, this literally destroys any random item. Doesn't even have to be the person you're attacking. I'm pretty sure this could pick literally anyone at the table.
It could pick your own if you had a potion in play or something. You could destroy your own potion and be like, cool.
Yeah, brilliant. But a lot of people are obviously trashing on it to a certain degree because it doesn't block, and as I think people are up in arms about the fact, brute can't block and all this. But so that being said, we haven't seen any of the items in this new set. Some of those items could be absolutely ridiculous, and you want whatever cards you can put to try and get rid of them.
If they end up being good, maybe you need 3 Smashing Performance, 3 Arc Smash. Like, you just need as much token interaction or item interaction as possible.
Exactly. So we haven't seen what the ceiling is on it yet, because we haven't seen any new items in this set, because it's all been Evo stuff so far, right? As far as I'm aware. Yeah. So yeah, just watch the space. It's hard to evaluate these cards this early on, but we enjoy speaking about them anyway. So thanks for joining us.
Yes, I have 2 things to say about this card. The first one has to do with lore, and I made a whole video on it. And that is, I'm pretty sure this card plus Numbskull hints at a set called Deathmatch. And if you watch the video that I made about this, I go really deep into it. But I think it's going to be a battle royale set similar to Everfest, but brutal. And there's going to be like all classes fighting in the death match against each other, and I think it's just going to be super cool. So I think that is going to be one of the Savage Lands sets.
That'd be awesome.
This references deathmatch in the flavor text, as well as the card Numbskull references deathmatch. Except for the card Numbskull writes deathmatch as capital D, capital M. And this one just says deathmatch as one word, which is why I believe that the one with the capital M is referencing the name of an upcoming set.
Deathmatch,
why else would they write it differently in 2 sets?
But even if like for lore purposes or sort of theme and flavor purposes, even if it wasn't UPF Battle Royale, if it was just an arena in
I don't necessarily think it's UPF. I think it's just going to be an expansion set, like
that'll be
Everfest.
sick.
I think it's going to be like Everfest, and it'll have support for all the classes. And the reason it has support for all the classes is because they're all fighting in the death match.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like Crucible of War.
and it would be a great opportunity to give Reinar his like Starvo treatment, because then it could be like champion Reinar, and he's like the winner of the death match or whatever.
And he gives all attacks with 6 or more base power +2 dominate and go again.
That's right.
Intimidate your opponent's entire hand.
Intimidate your opponent every time you draw a card that has 6 or more power.
Every time you look at them funny. And then the other thing about this card, and this is more of a design thing, I really like when they make cards like this. I know a lot of Brute players are like, no, it's not a strict upgrade to what we're already playing, so it sucks. Which is, I get it. Your Reinar's like not exactly a top tier hero, so I understand where you're coming from. But I do like it when any card game, not just Flesh and Blood, but I like it when card games design cards like this, because they occupy this space where it's like obviously against a certain, it's like sideboard tech basically, and I really like it when they do this kind of thing. They're like, hey, we're gonna make these cards that you can use in certain situations but aren't always staples. You don't put 3 of these in every single Reinar deck, but you might put some in a deck if the matchup requires it. And I really like that kind of design space just in card games in general. And
obviously speaking about design space as well, this card is unique in design space because it cares about not having a block value. So if there's a payoff in the next Brute set that cares about cards with 0 block values, that could also be something that they print, because there's cards out there which don't have which can't block. So there's space there to explore.
So
like Wild Ride and Smashing Big Tree, and
there's a whole bunch.
Exactly. There's
a lot of them. But I think that's interesting. And honestly, speaking of exploring design space, we have the finale of the Karate Kid saga. We now have Wax Off, which is a ninja defense reaction. It is a blue block 2, so a little bit below where you would normally. I guess no, that's where it would be for blue anyway. Flick Flack blocks 2, but then also gives +2. Yeah, let's not talk about Flick Flack though. Flick Flack kind of crazy. But anyway, so defense reaction, blue, blocks for 2, costs 0, and it is very, very simple. 1 line of text. If you've played Wax on this turn, create a Zen State token.
It's a defense reaction combo.
It's a defense reaction combo, which is pretty cool. I would have loved if they actually put like a combo on it. But I guess then it would have to be like if the last thing you played was Wax on, and that's weird in the reaction step. I don't know. It's weird stuff. But anyway, it is a defense reaction combo, so I think that's very cool. This was the card that I sort of alluded to as being a little bit polarizing, because some people are like, well, like why would you want to play Wax on? Like Wax on, for those of you who don't know, is not the best card. I
can see an argument for that, because there is a thing where like when you're talking about like competitive card games and stuff, it's like, hey, don't play bad cards to make your other cards better. Just play all good cards kind of thing. And Wax on isn't exactly the best card.
The thing that is kind of the thing that I would like to say about that is that Zen State tokens are incredibly powerful. Yeah, they are so like game warpingly good, honestly. There's a reason that we only have 1 card that can make them, and it's the end of a 3-line combo, and the card that you attack with only has 2 attack.
Technically, you can make a Zen State token with Yorick's specialization.
This is true. This is true.
Do you have a Zen State token up so we can read it? I'm pretty sure it like prevents one. It like absorbs 1 damage for the whole turn or something like that, right?
It absorbs 1 damage from every damage source that comes in for 2 turns.
2 turns. Ooh.
Because it comes in with a counter, and then you remove the counter on the next turn. It's at the beginning of your action phase, and then I guess with this one, no, it'd still stick around for 2 turns. Here, I'll actually bring it up so that I'm not Just trying to remember, but that's basically what it is. Okay, so Zen State is a ninja token aura. It enters the arena with 1 balance counter on it. At the beginning of your action phase, destroy Zen State unless you remove a balance counter from it. So it sticks around for at least basically 2 turns. And then whenever your hero would be dealt damage, prevent 1 damage that source would deal.
Yeah. So rune chance do absolutely nothing against this.
It completely nullifies rune chance.
Ash wings.
It nullifies ash wings. It makes blocks so much more efficient. It like basically lowers all of your breakpoints by 1. So like, it's crazy.
Wax Off technically blocks for 3 if you get the Zen State. So
it potentially blocks a billion.
Well, yeah, but in the
but immediately,
yeah, because you'll get it when you play it before damage is dealt. So you'll get the Zen State, and then damage will be dealt, and so it actually absorbs 3, which is actually not bad, right? It's just a 3 block.
So that's basically the one thing that I want to say is like the fact that this card looks really weak and like maybe is weak because it is based on you having to play Wax On, which as we said is maybe not the best card. Having easy access to Zen States, I think would be the easiest way to make playing against ninjas feel miserable for most decks. Zen States, I think, are way too good.
Zen States are very good. I would like to point out what Wax On does, just to give a little bit of context so people know like what they're dealing with. So a Wax On is also a defense reaction. I'm looking at the blue one, which blocks for 1. I'm pretty sure the red one blocks for 3, which is also not great for a defense reaction. So it's a 0 cost ninja defense reaction. Wax On. While Wax On is defending an attack action card with cost 0, it has +2. So if you're blocking something with a cost of 0, the red one will block for a total of 5, right? So it goes 3, 2, 1, red, yellow, blue. So you need to double de-react. And so, this is another one of the things that like, hey, I like this kind of design space where they're just opening up different opportunities where you can do like, maybe you're going to do a turtle, your Ninja Turtle Katsu, maybe comes back and then you're doing like flick flacks and then the Wax On, Wax Offs. And you just kill them with Kodachis or whatever. And this is good into Kodachis. It's a blue 0.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think this is also a bit of foreshadowing for the fact that we might go to Mysteria quite soon, because obviously on these cards as well, it depicts this Master Morita art of the hand. Yeah. So this could be this new defensive ninja, which in a ninja focused set could be good at defending a lot of low to the ground attacks with all of these weird things that sort of parry attack action cards, and then give you Zen State to also parry other sort of low to the ground smaller attacks. So I think this is this Master Morita art of the hand, which appears on the flavor text, could also be a hero for when we go to Mysteria, and it's going to be a defensive ninja which cares about these defensive cards on his hero ability.
I mean, that'd be pretty interesting for a Mysteria set if the ninja from the set is not like an aggressive ninja, it's like a defensive ninja.
Just an absolute white-bearded sensei bloke. Absolutely. Yeah. The Master Morita.
Also, I will say, one of our, I forget who it was, when somebody posted Wax Off, they said, like, can you imagine, like, this is magical Christmas land, probably never going to happen, but can you imagine your opponent attacks in with something and you go Wax On, triple Wax Off, get 3 Zen State tokens?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
But then you just block with your whole hand and you have nothing to do on your turn.
No, but then you have the Zen States for another turn cycle.
That's true.
After that.
You have one turn of like
of -3 to everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like
brilliant.
It would be pretty cool. But yeah, anyway, so I think the thing that people have to keep in mind is that if you perceive this card as bad, it is necessary that it is this bad. I don't personally think that it's that bad, especially for the effect that it has. But if it was any easier to do this, it would not be good for the game.
It's pretty easy to do it. All you have to do is play Wax On. But I mean, it does kind of suck that it doesn't have combo because you can't search for it with all the cards that care about combo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true too.
But
it's probably a calculated decision on their part.
I'm sure. Yeah. And also, like,
can you?
I just like cards like this. It's cool.
Can while we're just live, can you both check the chat? Or you have?
I did, yeah.
Oh wait, I didn't.
He's got the scene where Neo has figured out that he's the one, and he's blocking all of Agent Smith's attacks.
With one hand as well.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, so moving on, we have two more that we can talk about here. As a note, they did update. February did update already, and we do have Intoxicating Shot in the gallery.
Fantastic.
So that was pretty quick.
Let's
So our friends closed
page.
off.
Look at
Lovely.
that! Wow, look at that. Already up.
And then the next one up that we have is one that people are kind of up on, honestly, and I see why. We sort of alluded to it previously. It's called Tome of Imperial Flame. So we have another entry into the Tome cycle, which are not a real cycle, but we have a bunch of tomes. So this is a red pitch 0 cost action with no block. It has no attack, no block. And it reads: draw a card. If you are royal, instead draw 2 cards. You may pitch 2 red cards. If you don't, banish your hand. And then the reminder text: you do gain resource points from pitching this way. So it's telling you to pitch 2 cards, pitch 2 red cards specifically. If you don't, then you don't get any value from it. But if you do, then there are really good use cases for this, even within like Dromai. Something that somebody mentioned already is with the Emperor. This is a 1-card Command and Conquer, because you are always royal. You pitch the 2 cards. You can only play red cards anyway. So even if you have no cards in your hand, this pitches the 2 for you. You wouldn't want to do it just with an empty hand though, because you would need at least 1 extra card to CNC. But then, as long as you have 1 other card in your hand, this is a CNC. So yeah, I think this card
because you can tutor it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So you have 1 extra. You have 2 cards in your hand. One of them's Tome. You play the Tome, draw 2 cards, pitch 2 reds. You have 2 resources floating. Pitch the 3rd red. Activate Emperor for a CNC. Off of a 2-card hand, really. So yeah, I think this card is very cool. I think that it probably will make some amount of impact in Dromai. This also makes 2 Ash Wings, or 2 Ashes rather.
I think this is like really good in Dromai, because like this is like Ash positive, and then you get card selection. Not really card advantage, but you get card selection.
You get card selection, yeah. I don't find any faults with this. I think it's interesting that this is the first time we're seeing pitch cards. We're seeing cards that have a cost to pitch cards, or like an effect to pitch cards that actually gets you the value from them, which I think is interesting. This is the first time we've seen this sort of thing, and I do like it as a design space. So that's really cool.
I also like, obviously it's like great in Dromai, cool in Emperor, but I think I like that they just made it draconic. So like, if I can technically use it, it's probably terrible for him, but like, if they make another draconic hero, it's like, you could always consider this card. It's an interesting card, because like I said,
I think it'd probably be worth just picking up a couple if they're cheap.
I don't think it will be. I think it'll be expensive, but we'll see.
With the expansion slot cards, it's kind of hard to tell where they're going to be, but also I think it's just going to be good enough in Dromai that it'll probably be a chase card.
If I had to guess, this is the Living Legends finance corner real quick. I think Tome of Imperial Flame and Already Dead are both going to be the 2 of the more valuable Majestics, whereas Wax Off, Smashing Performance, and Intoxicating Shot will probably be on the cheaper side. Because they probably will be much less played than the other ones. I think Tome of Imperial Flame is going to be like, I think all Dromai players are going to want it, and then Already Dead, all Assassin players want a full playset of that as well. So
But and then last but certainly not least, we have the new Light Warrior equipment that we were kind of mentioning previously. This one is called Warband of Bologna. Art is fantastic. Soyame, shout out. Beautiful. Excellent. As always. This is, as I said, a Light Warrior equipment headpiece. It has Temper 2, and it also has action, pay 2 resources, destroy this. The next time you attack this turn, you may charge your hero's soul. If a yellow card is charged this way, you draw a card, and then the effect has go again. So, obviously something that Bolton just wants to do. Wants to have cards in soul, and the fact that it's card kind of neutral. I mean, you have to pitch to pay for the effect and then charge. it's like not as negative as it could be though. And the fact that it's an effect that's just always in play, like you're not going to have this stranded in your hand or whatever, taking up the slot of something that could be useful.
Yeah.
This can slot in when you have the resources and to be able to do it. And, you get sort of a card back, especially with the cards that we saw that all have, Soul Flare, that care about, they give you an effect when they're charged into your soul. This can sort of make that even better. So honestly, very interesting. I think Bolton is going to be completely head over heels in love with this headpiece.
Yeah, for sure.
I think this is just the Bolton headpiece, and it makes a lot of sense.
It might as well be a Bolton specialization, honestly.
Yeah. Also, it has extended art. So
it's gorgeous.
I'm always a sucker for extended art.
Yeah, I imagine this one probably comes. It's probably like the Dust Till Dawn, where it's like it just rainbow foil or extended art cold foil. There probably won't be like a regular cold foil and then the extended art. Probably just be the two. A couple things to note, which is cool, is that this card actually says you may charge your hero's soul, so it's not just putting it into the soul, so it counts as charging for things that care about
specifically charging.
Yeah, so it does that. Costing 2 is brutal, but you can maybe maybe you can pitch a blue and then pay 2 to do this and pay 1 to do your take flight or whatever or your not take flight via the Vanguard. So like, yeah, it's this is the kind of effect that I wanted for Bolton. Just it'd be cool to have this like more than once
on repeat
and not cost 2. We were talking about this in the Rogues Gallery Discord, and it's like, I think it's pretty good. I think Bolton's going to play it, but
well, what else does he have? He had the Halo of Illumination, which just said put a card from your hand into your hero's soul, so it doesn't even charge, doesn't even work. One
specifically wasn't charge.
That one does not count as charging.
And then he just had the defensive equipment for his head. So I guess this is just a bolt-in replacement for the head, isn't it? So
it's like if you want to be cheeky, you can run like the Helm of Sharp Eye or whatever. But
ooh, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think this is like definitely great for Bolton. Hey, he's on his way. Maybe someday Bolton will be good. I have seen a lot of people looking at the list of like heroes represented in like nationals, and they see like Bolton, Vincent, and Prism, and Levi, and they're like, man, it'd be great to have a set that specifically supports those 4 heroes.
Dust Till Dawn? Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So anyway.
Yeah, let's just wait till Tales of Aria and Elemental Heroes get the hell out of here, and then we'll see what happens after that. Because they're the ones that are terrorizing everything, aren't they? Or have been, at least. Monarch
and then Dromai's just gonna stomp on everyone.
Those darn talents.
Yeah. Well, those darn talents that aren't shadow or light, or specifically the old Prism that had Luminaris. Or Chain, I guess.
That
damn design space without Brian Gottlieb.
Hey, it turns out like getting Go again on all your crap is just really good, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty good.
Lexi,
first I've heard of that.
Give Go again to all your crap. Chain, give Go again to all your crap. Luminaris, give Go again to all your crap. I think there's a common thread between all of these things, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
definitely.
Anyway.
Yeah, so that's all of the spoilers that we have to talk about, all the revealed cards up till now.
You can also get a tunic. Remember, you can always get a tunic as well.
You can always get a tunic. Yeah, tunic is just going to be there. So the expansion slot is definitely still going to be spicy. No worries about that. But yeah, with that being said, that's all of the spoilers. We do have a couple of things in the mailbag for today. I will throw it over to Az to sort of share some of those.
Yeah, so again, these are either comments on YouTube videos or Twitter tags, or things that pop into our email address. So we haven't got any emails this week, but if you want to put your longer sort of thoughts, comments, and questions in there, it's the livinglegendspodcast@gmail.com. But picked out a few things today, one of which we've already gone over, which was the fact that someone said, someone tell Az that there's a Loner's area in top 8. We covered that earlier, so thanks for that. But one of the next ones is from a comment on a video, actually, which I thought was hilarious. This is when we were speaking about the round the table product. And then so Ryan Early 8748 4 days ago. Actually, no, it could be any amount of days when I screen grab this, so don't worry about that. Anyway, I'm already ready for Round the Table Cross Living Legends podcast. I hope the Prof product succeeds so he can keep getting UPF products seeded into the game. I played EDH before Commander was invented. It was fun, but it wasn't as engaging as a format eventually became as they released more multiplayer-orientated cards. I think UPF needs to go on that journey to mature from good to great. So interesting comment, but I just love the fact that he was ready for a Round the Table Cross Living Legends podcast product with all of our likenesses.
As much as I would love that, I think it's more likely that LSS is like, hey, Command Zone, like, let's have a
very much so
Jimmy and Josh thing, even though you don't do anything to do with Flesh and Blood, you're just really popular, and then you do multiplayer content. I feel like that's more likely, but hey,
you never know.
You never know. We got one person here, Ryan, that would buy it. LSS. So there we go. That's all we need to start the train. Leave a comment on the Red Zone Rogue videos or wherever you want to post it on social media.
Would you buy a Round the Table Living Legends product? And then I don't know who the fourth person would be. Probably like Ian or something, like someone who comes on as our extra guest. But,
or someone we just mention all the time, just like, Jim from FAB TCG Cards, or some random.
The other character is just Jim, and no explanation. It's neither FAB TCG Cards Jim or Bill's brother. It's just Jim. Yeah,
just Jim.
Just a guy named Jim,
and he's just standing there. He's just like it's
just
Jim.
Standing there. Yeah, it's Jim. Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant, but yeah. So I just thought that was funny. And another one was, again, this was another YouTube comment from Jody, who's actually from the UK, who is appreciating something that we are going to speak about very, very quickly after this, and that is less than 10 minutes in and questioning how to persuade information from a box. RPGs are truly a work of art.
Oh, it's so good.
So that was a comment in relation to our recent Dungeons and Dragons session in the world of Wraith.
So I'm gonna say, y'all listening to this, watching this, go watch the second episode of our Flesh and Blood D&D campaign. It is really, really good. If you like D&D, do you like D&D? Do you like tabletop RPGs?
Absolutely.
I like RGBs.
RGBs. Do you like Flesh and Blood? If you answered yes to any of those, you should go check it out. I think YouTube kind of put out a hit on the video. I don't know why it didn't perform as well, whereas the first one did. Maybe I didn't clickbait it enough, but I have since changed the thumbnail back to kind of an original Kale design, Dead Summer art design, and it's slowly starting to get some views. We're at like 443 now. And comparatively, typical is between 1,000 and 1.6 thousand for that time frame. So hey, maybe go watch it and let's get it up to 1,000. That would be cool.
Yeah, definitely. And
they'll put a lot of work into it. So
yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of time, and that's also probably one of the reasons that it's hard to evaluate, right? Because it's a 3-hour episode. We have to sort of lay the groundwork with the fact that it's a long one, and the next one is even longer than that.
It's longer. The next one is the finale, and it goes places. This episode 2, also goes places. There's some cool stuff that go on. It's set in the pits, but things get wild. And I did get a comment yesterday from Minjate that says, "Yes, so glad this is back." So like, hey, it's not just us tooting our own horns. Like, people like it. Some people like it. Go watch it and see if you like it too.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. At the very least, it was a lot of fun. So
yes, and we will be doing it again. And this is why I mentioned Max Ferocity earlier. We're going to be doing it again, and potentially with Max Ferocity. And yeah, stay tuned for that and more information regarding that. But if you like D&D, if you like Flesh and Blood, especially if you like the lore, definitely check it out and definitely look forward to it because there's some cool stuff, and we're going to be doing some more cool stuff, hopefully in time for Bright Lights. So, yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's another thing. Maybe we can move on to Arsenal Step now, because that's one thing that I've just literally my head has been in Dungeons and Dragons world creating mode for the last couple of days. So I'm just making a world which probably won't even see the light of day, but it's just the fact that that why I love Dungeons and Dragons is because it's just so there's obviously rules and stuff that are in place, right? But you can just do anything you want with it. And that comes across in our D&D sessions that we've had. We've had obviously the World of Wraith skin over it, but it just goes in random and weird directions, which is just awesome. And you can just tell amazing stories with it. And that's one of the reasons why I play games personally. But
absolutely,
yeah. Just had my head in lots of D&D books recently, losing myself in those.
I'm just a huge fan of tabletop RPGs in general. So
exactly, yeah.
I love that kind of stuff. And obviously anyone who's knows what I do and, just my channel in general, I love creating characters, and I can definitely see myself. This is something I've thought about a lot. I can definitely see myself someday working at a company on a card game or something. But, a lot of times people are like, oh, I want to design cards, I want to develop cards. But I can actually see myself working in like the creative department for on a card game. I think I would find that both enjoyable and like very fulfilling. I love making characters, and that's just super fun to me. But
yeah, same.
What have I been doing? I did videos recently. I'm just really glad that my last two videos were well received, which is my Dusk Till Dawn, or my Bright Lights spoiler video, and yesterday's video, which was a well, not yesterday for you listening to this now, but Monday's video, which was my top 5 TCGs that I'm currently playing in 2023, and then also like a deck for each. So I show off a deck for each. That's something I've been planning for a while, and I figured it would do well, and I'm glad to see that it's doing well. So
yeah.
Awesome.
And then I have more content. It never ends. Just never. It's always perpetual grind. So I'm going to be
Always
doing
content.
Doing something for Alpha Clash. My Alpha Clash spoiler is on Thursday. They gave me something really cool to spoil.
Nice.
Yeah, it makes sense too. But yeah,
that's a great thing about TCGs at the moment in this day and age, is that there is a aesthetic or an IP or something that you can gravitate towards, whether you're a fan of superheroes or anime or dark fantasy or Doctor Who. You can go wherever you want, basically, and that's a great thing about the world we live in now, is you can just choose what game you want to play based on how you like the look of it, which is great.
I mean, I don't want to get too much into the weeds with this, but it's really that's really what, to me, the so-called TCG Renaissance is. It's a term that I kind of coined like 2 or so years ago in a video that I just said, hey, we're in a TCG Renaissance. That might be the title of the video. But what the true Renaissance to me, it's not like, new, versions of card games. It's not like, innovation in that regard. But the TCG Renaissance to me is a reinvigoration of interest in TCGs in the world. And that's just, it's just this resurgence of the TCG as a hobby that a lot of people are now looking at and picking up. And I think games like even, games that I might not be interested in, like Lorcana, I think are really helping with this, because they're bringing in a whole new generation of people who are going to love trading card games. And then you have your mainstays like Magic the Gathering that are still doing well, regardless of how you feel about them. They're making money, man. They're doing well. And then there's stuff like Flesh and Blood, who are just kind of like carving their own thing. And then aside it, there's just so much others, like as said. If you like superheroes, you got that. If you like anime, you got that. If you want something nostalgic, hey, you can go play the Digimon game. Or if you are into One Piece, you can do that. So like,
or if like grid-based art and stuff, you can do sorcery, casual and stuff, there's loads of different things you can do. It's just a great time to be a geek, really.
There's another one coming out sort of soon. It's going to be in Kickstarter that I've made one video on before, and I've actually done some consulting work for this game. It's called Grimpath. And if you like if you like a grid-based thing, if you like Warhammer or even like XCOM or something like that, you're gonna love this game. It's super cool. The guy who's making it is someone who used to work at Double Fine. He worked on Brutal Legend and Psychonauts. Like, he's a video game industry veteran. He knows how to make a good game. And I think it's good, and the art is good, and I think it's gonna be really fun. So there's a lot of options. There's a lot of options out there.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's that.
But yeah, with that, I don't have really anything to add to the Arsenal step, and your guys' contributions were quite good. So I think I'm willing to just call it there. I think that was a really good discussion. So yeah, just to go around the table once again, I am Bill from the Spike Feeders. You can find me on social media at BillTSF. You can also find me on YouTube at the Spike Feeders Fab. We do live edited gameplay content, and if that's something that interests you, you should definitely come check us out. And kicking it over alphabetical style to Az. Where can the people find you?
Alphabetical style. Here we go. So yeah, I'm Az from Go Again Gaming. Very, very closely approaching. My YouTube channel doesn't really grow because I don't really care about it, to be honest. But I'm just there anyway, just loving life. But I'm approaching 1,400 now, about 20 people away. So go and subscribe over there when you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So raw content, sometimes climbing mountains, sometimes eating meat and failing. Lots of different things going on. And sometimes, if you go over to Twitter, I sing a random song.
It's pretty good. You did pretty good.
So
man. I love Bryn's response. It was so good.
It was, yeah.
I do want to give a shout out to Bryn from the Banish Zone for being such a awesome person.
Yeah,
she's great.
Seconded.
But I love her response. She's also in a band. If you didn't know, a very good band actually.
I think they're called Stay Inside. I think they're called. I think something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, she's in a band.
I have them on my Spotify. But I'm so bad with remembering stuff.
Yeah, I think they're called. I think they're called Stay Inside. But yeah, it's just she said that I sounded completely like a different person. But that's just. I grew up listening to American music and American metalcore and post-hardcore and stuff, and that's just what I modeled myself on. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and that's what happens. You just model yourself on the American stuff, and that's why I love, just in general, American music. So that's probably why I sound like that.
It's also kind of funny, like it's just a thing. I don't know why, but a lot of bands that would otherwise have accents, it doesn't just have to be from the UK or whatever, but like when they sing, they always have like the no accent American, like West Coast style thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, that's right.
I don't know why. Yeah. I don't know. It's just you notice it in a lot of stuff. And then when they start talking, they have like a really thick like Scottish accent or really thick like Irish accent. You're like, what the hell? Like, I didn't know you sounded like that.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
A popular singer that I'm a pretty big fan of. His name is Lewis Capaldi, and he's basically that. Yeah, he has like such a thick Scottish accent.
Yeah,
but you really wouldn't be able to tell just from his music. So it's
then
really
he sings. He's like just a high tenor vocal range. It's just like what the bloody hell is going on?
Just a bloke, Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's me. I'll throw it over to Cal now as well.
I did watch your entire ascent of Mount Pilatus, by the way. I just
did you?
I just threw that up and just watched it. Then so I was like,
oh my god, that was hard. That was very hard.
It's several hours long, but I watched the whole thing. So
it's a good background video.
Go watch it if you like that. If you like that kind of stuff, and if you want to watch like a bunch of dudes climb Mount Pilatus with like a bunch of like heavy. Like DMB techno, just being like, and while they're just kind of like walking up.
Absolutely,
yeah. But yeah, I'm Cal. You can find me at Red Zone Rogue everywhere. Mostly YouTube and Twitter, and for some reason I have 1,000 followers on Instagram, even though I hardly ever post to it. Maybe Instagram is just a lot easier to get followers. I don't know. I tried to focus more on my Facebook, but my Instagram, I'm just like, I don't know.
I feel like Instagram just has a big botting problem. I feel like there's just a lot of bots on,
Maybe,
on
yeah.
Instagram. I don't know if that's just my own experience or not, but yeah.
I think I don't know. Maybe it's just more popular than I give it credit for. Maybe Instagram is
That
just
too.
like used a lot more, and maybe it's like a lot like used a lot more in our space. Because it's different. It's different. I don't want to talk too much about Instagram, but
Instagram reminds me of. Sorry, I'll let you carry on a moment. But Instagram reminds me of like the old MySpace days where you used to go PC for PC or follow me and I follow you. A lot of people will
follow.
A lot of people will follow you expecting the follow back, and that's just not how you grow an audience, is it really?
I mean, like what I found works, at least for me, is I'll just post a picture of some cool cards with it doesn't really matter what I say, and people are like, "Oh, sweet," and then they'll like follow me. Like I'll post like artist
bunch of hashtags on there.
Yeah, I barely even do it because I'm just like, whatever. So like maybe I should try on Instagram a little bit more. I don't really know if it's like worth it, but hey, look, here's my Instagram. I have 1,007 followers, and I'm following 54 people. I mostly use it as a marketing thing, but sometimes I'll post like pictures of stuff. Anyway, enough about that.
Yeah,
that's all that. Yes.
But anyway, thank you both once again for sitting down to chat with me. It's always appreciated. Thank you at home, the listener or viewer, for hanging out with us. It's always appreciated as well. Stay well, stay safe, and we'll catch you all in the next episode.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Sean!
Jason!
Jason!
Kirik! Dart!
Spoilers! Fuck. Cut it!